Hi and welcome. My name is Karen Welton. I'm a birth doula and childbirth educator, and this is my guest, Katherine. I'm going to be interviewing her and asking her to share her birth story with you, which is a really beautiful story. She was actually a client of mine. I was her doula. And how old is your son now?
Just turned 16 months.
16 months. So this is a great one, and it's a privilege to have you here. Thank you for coming in. Can you tell me a little bit about what your mindset was like when you first got pregnant?
Yeah, at the start of my pregnancy, I was asked by my sister-in-law what I wanted in my birth, and she didn't really have any expectation of what I wanted either, but we were talking, do I want medicine? Do I want an epidural? Am I trying to stay away from a cesarean section? And just things like that. And I said, I don't really know. And then I said to her, I think I'm just going to do whatever I need to do. And if I need an epidural, I'll take an epidural. If I want meds, I'll take meds. Just whatever happens to get the baby out of my body, basically, is what I will do. And we actually had another family member who went all natural for her babies. And I remember thinking she was insane. Completely insane. She did water births, and we were mentioning her, and I just said, yeah, I don't know if I'm going to be able to do that. And so my mindset was, God made drugs. Yes, yeah, God made doctors, so he made drugs, and I'll take them. Yep. So they're there, I'll take them. So that was my mindset going into birth and pregnancy at the onset.
Beginning.
Yeah, in the beginning.
And so then what changed for you? Because when I met you, that was not at all your mindset.
Right. I remember my husband and I being in the car on the way to church one day, and I had been reading various blogs and articles about moms going through childbirth and reading stories of women who had an epidural, women who didn't, and at that time it became clear to me that epidural really wasn't best for baby. And so that's, I think, where my switch happened a little bit, is starting to think more about, okay, this isn't just about me, this is about the baby I'm growing inside me, and then reading about breastfeeding and how epidural can affect that, and I knew that I did want to breastfeed. So it was just reading various things started to shift my thinking a little bit. And I remember being in the car one day on the way to church after probably about a month of reading different things, and I just said to my husband, I think I want to go all natural. I don't think I want any meds. And he's like, really? And I'm like, yeah. Kind of like that family member that I was speaking of earlier. Like, I think I want to do what she did. And he's like, okay.
Just like that.
And my husband is so go with the flow. I think you probably saw that in him. He will do anything.
So he was great with it.
So he was so great with that decision. And that's where it started. But at that time, the word pain-free was not in my vocabulary, or supernatural. It was just natural, which to me meant no medication.
Yeah.
And I thought that's kind of where it ended.
But even when I met you, before you found out about pain-free, you were so confident in your body. You so trusted the process. There was like no fear. You were just ready, like, to take it on.
Yeah, and I think that too, like, I'm a music teacher, but I've always had kind of a love for science and the human body and everything. And I think that I wanted to almost put God to the test and see what he could do. I really think that's almost what it was.
The little scientist in
yeah,
you.
like, okay, God, you created, and once I started reading different things about just how your body's meant to do this, and it just got me excited to be like, okay, God, like, let's see what you got here, and let's see, So I think that's kind of where that started to come in too, of that, and I don't even think when I met you I was using pain-free, but that to really listen to your body, though.
Yeah,
and
be intuitive.
Yeah, and just let your body speak to you, and your body knows what to do, physiologically and biologically speaking. Women for centuries gave birth without medication, and it works.
Yeah.
And so
the baby comes out.
Yeah, and then after meeting you, that was kind of confirmed for me, and I think it lit that fire even more to explore the idea of supernatural childbirth and pain-free childbirth.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So let's talk about the birth itself. You started contractions it was in the evening, was it, or afternoon?
It was during the school day.
Right. You
Yes.
were teaching
Yep.
at Braxton Hicks.
Yes, and I had gone
Slow
to
start.
my midwife on Monday. My son was born on Thursday evening. I had gone to my midwife on Monday and was 3 centimeters.
Oh.
And I was so
Jump start.
excited. And she did warn me, don't get too excited. He is your first. And, you know, it can be days
Yeah.
before. And so she was right. But I went to,
Slow warm up.
after that appointment, my mother-in-law had got me a
Massage.
yeah, she
That
had
kinda
gotten
helped
me
things
a
stimulate.
prenatal massage, and the massage therapist was like, "You're close enough to your due date. I can kind of hit different trigger points," and I'm like, "Go for it."
Yeah.
I was ready to get
And
the
it
baby
worked,
out of
right? The
and
contractions picked up.
Yes. So on Wednesday, 2 days later, I was at school experiencing pretty frequent Braxton Hicks, and they were getting, you know, a little tighter, a little more pressure with them, and it was around lunchtime, after lunch, that I had lost the mucus plug at school, and I was like, okay, I think things are starting to progress a little more, and so called my husband and said, I think I'm going to be leaving school a little early today, and so he actually picked me up because I was a little like nervous at that point, and I'm like, I don't know if I want to drive. so we left my car there for a few days.
A few days.
We did. I didn't get it until after we went home.
And I came over and saw you that evening.
Yes.
You were having pretty consistent contractions.
Yes.
They were still pretty spaced apart though. So we did some stairs. And then like I remember at 9:30, we were all kind of like, we watched Friends for a
Yes,
while,
we
for like
watched
a few
Friends.
hours. And then we all said, you know what? We're tired. Let's go to bed.
Yes,
So I
yes.
went home. You went to bed.
Yep.
And I said, call me when it kicks in. And
Yes.
it sure did. At,
Yep.
what was it, 2 in the morning or so?
Yeah, my parents had arrived. They were coming from a few states away, and they had arrived, and I remember going to the bathroom, and my mom caught me in the hallway, and she was so excited, and it was definitely starting to pick up at that point where I was starting to feel like, and for me, I wanted the safety of the hospital, and so I felt like once I got there, I could really settle in, and so it kind of got to the point around 2:30 in the morning that I thought we probably should pack our bags and get headed to the hospital, because I just wanted to be able to set up camp, and I knew that check-in took a while and everything.
Yeah.
So
So we got there. You
Got
labored
there.
for a while in the early morning
Yes.
hours. We waited for your midwife to come in.
Yep.
You had an amazing midwife.
Oh,
I
she
just
was
wanted to
awesome.
kiss her at the end. She was
amazing.
So she
Yes.
comes in, she checks you. You were 5 or 6 centimeters, I believe.
Yeah.
Like 5 or 6 a.m. in the morning.
Yep.
And she's like, "You're doing great. I'll check back on you later." So we get checked in. You go to your room. And you're
My 2
contracting.
rooms.
You had 2 rooms.
Yes.
This hospital was like heaven. Like this
Amazing.
massive suite. They gave her birthing room and her postpartum room at the same time. So we were like going back and forth.
Yes.
We were like, okay, let's go to the other room. We'll take a walk. Okay, let's take a bath. I mean, I
Yes.
was like, this is great. You could do whatever you
Yep.
want. At one point, you went on the stairs. Remember
Yes.
that?
Yep,
We
because-
asked your midwife,
Well-
can we use the stairs? And she said, well, I don't have a problem with that.
Yes. Well, and the other part of the story is that my husband is an employee of that hospital and has the badge that gets you into anything. And so he used that liberty to open the stairwell for us that otherwise would not have been able to open, or an alarm would have sounded. So he swiped and we used the stairs for about, 15 minutes until we were caught.
Because the stairs are great. And then a nurse comes in and goes, what are you doing? You're not allowed to be here. And we're like, the midwife said
'Cause we were
she
missing.
wasn't a problem. But you're not allowed to leave the labor and delivery floor.
Yes. So we learned that lesson.
We
But
chuckled about that.
I think the stairs were worth it, though.
I think so.
Progressed it a little
Yeah,
bit.
totally worth it. At least it makes
Yes.
a good story.
Right.
So, so your midwife checks you again later in the afternoon, and you were still about 5 to 6 centimeters.
Yeah.
So going pretty slow,
Yes.
and actually at one point you were checked, and it was about noon. The first time she checked you, it was I think 5 in the morning, and
Yes.
so we realized you'd progressed 1 centimeter in 7 hours. And in my doula brain, I'm thinking, doing the math, like if you're averaging like 1 centimeter per hour, I'm like, okay, so that means we're going to be here for like 72 more hours or whatever the number was. And I'm like, I got to admit, I was doubting it a little bit at that point. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to settle in for the long haul. This is going to be
Yes.
one of those long haul labors.
Yeah.
I might have to call my husband and tell him I'm going to be here for 3
Yes.
days.
Right.
And I remember, the midwife expressed no concern.
Yeah.
She was like, no, I am perfectly comfortable. She's fine. Baby's healthy. She's healthy. Heart tones are great. She has a posterior cervix, which means that her cervix was angled a little bit to the back. And she said, that takes a long time to dilate in the beginning, but then in the end, it speeds right up. So I'm like, okay, well, she's not concerned. I won't be concerned either.
Right.
And you were in labor land and not looking at the clock at all, thank goodness.
No, and I don't even remember her telling me. I think she actually told you how many, maybe she did tell me and I just was in that state that I don't even remember.
Right.
But I don't even think I knew that it was only 1 7. I didn't, because when I saw your post about my birth story, I said, it was really only 1 centimeter in 7 hours. So I really, because you were keeping notes in your notebook, and I really don't think I even knew that it was that little, which is so good. And I think that was intentional on her part, because I think, when I showed up to the hospital in the morning, it was only like 1 centimeter more than what I had been.
Right, 3 days before.
3 days prior.
You're like, what's happening? I've been laboring
so
for
I
2
think
days.
it would have been really discouraging had I found that out.
Yeah.
So we just kept keeping on.
You just stayed in your zone.
Yeah.
You kept plugging along.
You have to find that rhythm.
Yeah, and so you were focused. Now, at one point you hit a wall, and you were feeling we all have that wall we hit in labor, where it's emotional and you feel like it's not working, or I don't know how I'm going to do this. And I think you were getting discouraged over how long it was taking.
Yes.
So what were you feeling, and what helped you break through that wall?
Yeah, I think you get to a point and you've been in such a good rhythm, and then all of a sudden that rhythm's not quite working anymore. And it was to a point where I got on my knees. I don't know if literally, but I just came to the feet of Jesus, and we were singing worship songs, and my husband was praying over me, and I had scripture written out, and those preparations that I feel like need to be taken ahead of time, that's when that really comes in handy. And not even just literal preparations of, I had actual physical cards, but that the praying over your birth ahead of time in the months prior, and just in that mindset too of knowing that this is natural, this is what your body does, and knowing what it's doing helps you break through that, because otherwise you can get to that fearful state.
Yeah, you can really spiral.
Yep, and it can happen quickly.
Yeah.
And I remember, we had gone shower to bed to the, walking around back to the shower, and you're doing all these different things, and then those aren't working. And it was when we had finally moved to the tub after I was 8 centimeters, which was later that afternoon.
Yeah,
And
she checked you and you were 8, and that gives you courage then.
Yes. So once I was 8 centimeters, and I forget, it was like around, I don't know,
I have it written down
2:30.
2:30.
When we went over to my labor room where we had the jacuzzi tub, and once I got in there, it was like, oh, okay,
That's the epidural.
we're good. It's the epidural. But at that time, thank God for the tub, because at that time, that was the most intense part of labor happened in the tub. And that's when that fear crept in a little bit. And I had that one contraction where instead of the it was ow.
It was ow.
So
you told me you had one contraction that was painful in
and
your
I remember
entire
it vividly.
labor. Just that one.
Like all of my other ones, I blur, together.
Yeah.
But that one I remember. And I can't imagine being a woman going through birth, having all of their contractions feel like that.
It makes you understand why they are
it
an
does.
epidural.
Yeah, it does. And it makes you understand why women are in such disbelief.
Yeah.
That this
That
could
pain-free
actually
is even
happen.
possible.
Yes. But I remember just being in that tub and having that one contraction, and we just immediately rebuked it.
The fear.
And was, get out of here, Satan, because that's what he wants, is that fear. And
he'll derail you.
And I think it was the fear of, okay, now it's starting to maybe become painful. What does that mean for, the baby still is not born yet. What does that mean for pushing, and what does that mean for everything?
Right.
As a first-time mom, it kind of...
you don't know what's coming next.
You don't know what's coming. And if it's starting to get painful now, then what's going to happen? But that was it.
But that
Once
was your transition also.
It
you know,
was.
and you were singing in the shower, and singing is amazing to open up the sphincters. And but I just loved how you went right to Jesus, and you were like, this is what you did though. You recognized this is fear, and I'm going to take authority over, and I'm going to kick it out. That's so powerful.
Yeah, you really have to be in tune with your spirit and your mind.
You do,
because that controls your body. And what's happening.
It's all about taking every thought captive.
Right.
So you, after that time in the tub where you're worshiping, you're reading scriptures, you're singing, you know, you like broke through that wall, and then you get out after that. And I remember, I think you feeling the urge to push pretty soon.
Oh yeah.
So we go to the room.
Even in the tub, I felt the urge.
Yeah, you were bearing down. It's like uncontrollable.
Yep.
So tell me about what pushing was like.
Oh, it felt amazing. Which sounds so weird to say,
right?
Because I think it's the part in labor, you know, like thinking of a Friends episode, you know, like when they're just screaming and bearing down, and it wasn't like that. I mean, it was intense, and I mean, I think I was screaming a little bit, but it wasn't like painful. But it was because you could do something with your contractions.
Yeah.
You
were being productive.
Them. You were being productive. You could work with them. Like, it was finally time to like let this happen.
So you were in the bed, like reclining. Not just lying on your back, but you were
on
like
my side.
On your side.
I was on my left side.
So like you would like hold your leg up.
Yeah, which I'll share a funny part about that at the end. But yes, so I was on my side, and they let me use the peanut ball.
Awesome.
Between my
peanut
legs,
balls are great.
Which was amazing.
Your midwife just comes in. Here you go.
Here you go.
So yeah, the peanut ball is a giant peanut-shaped ball, like this big, and it can go in between your legs while you're pushing. And I totally forgot about this, but yeah, you're pushing. You'd kind of sit up, and you'd hold your breath.
I would actually hold my leg.
You'd hold your leg.
I held my leg.
Yeah.
And that's what's funny is that the next day, I was in bed, and I'm like, why is my arm so sore? It felt like I had been like lifting tons of weight. And I was like, wait, I was holding my leg up for an hour and a half.
I was working out.
I was pulling it towards my chest. But yeah, and then what was great is that between contractions, between pushes, I could just relax. Like I could let that top leg just relax right onto because I didn't have to hold it
on the peanut ball.
It was
great,
resting right there, and I could lean back a little and just
you would lay back, close your eyes, and like drift off. You were in like another state of consciousness, just drifting asleep.
Yeah.
And
that's the great thing about natural and pain-free is you don't have that directed pushing really. Yeah. I mean, my midwife a couple times would, let me know, especially once I was during pushing, to keep going, to not stop, because we were going to make a lot of progress with this push. Mm-hmm. But it wasn't, I could take my time and relax in between, and then when I felt the urge again.
There was no pressure, no yelling or screaming. It was like, it was so like quiet, like this awe almost in the room. And you would just lay back, and I remember being by your head, and at one point, I think I whispered, like, how does this feel? Because to me, it looked like you were so happy. I remember you laying back, and you were just like smiling, and I'm like, she seems really happy, like happier than most women in pushing. And I said, how does this feel? And you're like, it feels awesome. It doesn't hurt at all. And I'm like, wow.
Really, it didn't. And because they were just so productive, which was so great.
And then they had a resident come in, or a medical student, and it was the best.
I still can picture her face.
Her face.
I really can.
She stood at the foot of your bed like this. Every time like you pushed, she was like, she'd never seen a natural childbirth.
Yep.
And so you could just see this petite little woman just like in awe of what was happening.
Yes.
It was like the sweetest thing.
Yes, it was so cool.
And what was one of your prayers before going into labor?
One of my prayers was that our birth would be a testimony to people, like people in the room, for my mom, that it would be redemptive for her to see a birth that could be positive, and just for everybody involved. I prayed for the nurses, I prayed for just everybody in that hospital, that this would just be, they would see God in this. Because what a greater way to share Christ than through the miracle of birth and just what he can do. So, and it was definitely answered in the room that day, and then has been going beyond that, which is really powerful.
And who
really
knows
amazing.
how many people will get to see it now.
Yes.
And you had one other prayer too, that you were praying that it would like challenge your faith.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
That's
And you know what? Even on the way here tonight, I was almost praying that prayer again of that was just such a spiritual high but I was, saying to God, like, help me to carry that through. Like, help me to relive that tonight. And just, because it really, like, for me, it was, God, I just want you to be there. And I want you to really just show up in a huge way. And he did. And he totally pulled through.
And be
which
in
God
a
always
place
does.
where you need him.
Yeah, absolutely.
I just thought, what a courageous woman you are to pray that your faith would be challenged in labor.
Oh, and it was. It definitely was.
What?
I mean, I have never been on my, like, literally, you're on your hands and knees a lot during labor, but just spiritually too. Just so
totally dependent,
total
like
abandoned.
total abandonment. Yes. Yeah. So
it was great.
So when the baby was coming out, they last minute she removes the peanut ball.
Yes.
The baby comes out.
My husband delivered him.
Yes.
Yes. She let my husband take over. She was joking that he'll go and help with the next one down the hall.
He's like, I got this.
Yeah.
And my favorite moment of your whole birth was this moment. I will never forget it as long as I live. The baby comes out, you're reclined like this. Your husband is like this jolly man. He's so proud. He caught the baby. He starts walking the baby up to your face, but he's wrapping the cord still attached, so it's wrapping around her leg.
Meanwhile, he's coming behind my back.
Like behind her. So the cord's getting tangled around her leg. And meanwhile, she is in euphoria. Like literally her limbs are all up and she's screaming, I'm so happy!
Which I do not remember doing.
Oh, it happened.
I remember saying my son's name.
Yeah.
I remember saying, my kid, like just screaming for him.
And you were on cloud 9.
Oh, yeah.
Talk about the release of oxytocin, right?
That birth high.
It's the birth
real.
high. Was it worth it?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, it was amazing. It was amazing. But yeah, that was hilarious. And I'm trying to reach for him.
When I said, no, you got to go back this
We finally
way.
got him around the right way.
It out. Yeah,
I finally held him. We finally did skin to skin. No, it was great.
And then you were full of energy, no sleep for like a day or 2 days.
It is amazing. Like,
that's the
I felt like I
right?
had just woken up after sleeping for 36 hours, not in labor for 36 hours. I mean,
You were so excited.
Yes.
The baby latched instantly.
Yes, instantly.
And then like 20 relatives come in to this massive birthing suite. You had like your cousins, your aunts, your uncles, they all gathered around your bed and you start telling them the whole, you tell them the whole story, like moments within an hour of giving birth.
It was just such an exciting time. And I just think it was just such an answer to prayer. And that was just huge. Like, and you go through this whole process and then the end just happens so quickly. Yeah. And then it's there. And it's amazing.
Your midwife was right. The end goes fast.
And you just forget. I mean, you literally forget about everything that you just went through momentarily. I mean, I remember thinking that next morning, I will never do this again. I didn't know, I'm kidding. But it is so emotional too afterwards of, wow, I can't believe I just did that. I can't believe God just did that.
How did that make you feel as a new mom?
Oh, it felt amazing. And I mean, if I'm being completely truthful, I did struggle with postpartum depression afterwards, but I think reflecting on my birth story gave me that high again and gave me that encouragement and that confidence and that strength that only comes from God. And I mean, I remember when because even though he latched right away after birth, I struggled with breastfeeding for not as long as a lot of women do. It seemed long at the time. It was like about a week. And I remember just sitting on our bed trying to get him to latch. And I remember you being very helpful with that too. But I remember just thinking, if God could get me through that labor, he can get this baby to latch. And I need to just trust that. So it's been a constant reminder ever since of everything, that if God can do that in my life, then he is capable of
he can do
many more things, and even the tiniest little things, So
what would you say to other women who are pregnant now and hoping or believing for a pain-free or supernatural or natural birth?
Yeah, I would just say that God has given us as women, our bodies, this amazing, amazing gift. And He does not want it. We are not cursed anymore. And Jesus Christ lifted that. So you have an amazing superpower. And as long as you are in tune with your body and you understand, I think understanding is a big part of knowing what's happening in your body. But you can do it, and you can trust that this baby will be born pain-free, and that you can just believe in your body and believe in God and in yourself that you can have that. It can be anybody's story.
It can be anybody's story.
It can be anybody's story,
Amen.
regardless of what others tell you it can. So.
Thank you, Katherine.
Yes, you're welcome.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.